Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me on my session. The topic is setting boundaries, 5 tips to maintain your organized life. I'm Ashley Hines. I'm the founder and CEO of The Tailored Life. I'm a wife, I'm a mom of two, I'm a community advocate, and I'm a holistic home organizer. I partner to help people keep only what serves them and to live well organized. I facilitate peace, order, and intentional living through wellness centered home organizing. I have spent hundreds of hours organizing with clients and sharing my passion and my expertise with the community through various speaking engagements. I've also been featured on platforms such as the New York Times Wirecutter, Buy Side by the Wall Street Journal, and Food and Wine and Real Simple, just to name a few. I started The Tailored Life in December 2020. Kind of a rough time, if you can remember back then, but it was during the thick of the pandemic that I truly realized that living organized was self-care. And it directly impacted how I felt, my mood, my mental health. And when I could reclaim my space, in many ways, I was reclaiming my mental space. And I wanted to extend that experience to others. So before I move on, I want to make sure that you all are aware that if you join my mailing list, which is available on thetailoredlife.com, you scroll to the bottom, you can join my mailing list there. I will send you a free decluttering checklist. And if you follow me on Instagram at the end of our session today and send me a DM, you'll be entered to win $100 gift card to Amazon. Who doesn't want free money, right? All right, so let's chat. This will be very casual, but I really just wanted to share over the years, I mentioned kind of the personal connection that I realized over the years, though, I've learned a lot more about the relationship between our wellness and home organizing and organizing generally. As we venture into our topic for today, I feel it's really important to make sure that we have a strong foundation. We're talking about boundaries. I think that the kind of foundation of that is making sure that you have some self-awareness, right? You can't know what you need to thrive in your space if you really don't know you. And if you don't know how you best learn and how you best create habits and how you best sustain a change, right? So, a few things that I want you to consider before we jump into the formal tips for today is to determine if you're chronically disorganized. The Institute for Challenging Disorganization, or ICD, defines chronic disorganization as it persists over a long period of time. You're noticing this is just kind of a typical thing for you. It frequently undermines the quality of your life and it recurs despite repeated self-help attempts. If that sounds like you, if you feel like you're constantly trying and you can't get out of that cycle, you may be chronically disorganized. ICD has a 20-minute video that's on YouTube. I'll make sure that I add that to my resources for today. Just kind of describes what chronic disorganization is. They also have a clutter quality of life scale, and the CQLS is an opportunity for you to assess how clutter might be impacting your well-being. It's a free assessment that you can take online, and it'll just give you some clarity and direction. Even if you don't have CD, but you have some existing brain-based challenges such as ADHD, anxiety, depression, these factors can actually make getting and staying organized more complicated. If you don't have any of these issues with clutter, you may still benefit from having a professional organizer, some focus time and energy and expertise to help you get started. So that's where we come in. We specialize in supporting needs, and we can create a plan that honors your needs, if that makes sense. So before I jump in, again, I just want to talk about how important that foundation is. Please be kind to yourself as we explore today's topic and as it relates to living organized. And I always say this, but vulnerability is a strength. Please get the help that you need in order to thrive. All right, ready to keep going? All right. So once you have that awareness, you can move on into your plans for maintaining an organized life. So I hear it all the time, you guys. I hear it all the time. People are like, oh, that project looks so awesome. I post on my Instagram or, and getting the feedback, and they're like, but does it stay like that? Does it stay like that? And my answer is always yes, if you maintain it. Similar to going to the gym, right? Like you're not going to go to the gym once and maintain your body. Like you have to commit to a lifestyle of working out. Organizing is very similar to that. It can get out of hand just like anything else in our homes. But, if you have the systems in place, often it's easier to reset, if that makes sense. So, a boundary, just so we're all on the same page, simply put, is having a limit. Having a limit. Boundaries can be physical, they can be emotional, they can be time, financial, you name it. There's so many different sorts of boundaries. It's important to first identify the type of boundaries that you need to thrive in your space. So, the first tip I have with setting boundaries is to start with a clear and very personal why. This is so important. Having clarity on why you want your home to be organized in the first place for you and your family is crucial. I'll give you some examples. And of course, I'm going to lead with one that I'm very passionate about, which is health. Sometimes people recognize what I recognized, which was I feel better when my space is organized, when it's decluttered, when I know where things are, right? We know that clutter competes. Clutter competes. It's a distraction. There's stats that says that our body is taking in 11 million bits of information at any given moment. So we're constantly taking in things through our senses already. As much as we can kind of control that with the things we can control in our visual space, it can impact so much our ability to think, to be creative, to focus, to sleep, even, right? It's even difficult to sleep in a cluttered room. We also know that clutter can isolate us. I think the pandemic showed us this even more, but we need people. Like, even if you're introverted, we need some form of human contact. And when our homes are cluttered, often we don't feel as excited about having company. We're embarrassed, right? So clutter can isolate us when we don't feel like our space represents us properly. It can also, like I've already shared, impact our mental health. There's a lot of links to increased anxiety and depression with clutter and unorganized homes. Even just think about like the frustration of not being able to find something, even just those short-term experiences with stress and anxiety and depression, right? Like it's irritating when you can't find your key or your wallet. It can mess up your entire day and be a domino effect to your ability to move throughout your day efficiently. Often we can use living organized as a way to promote our health as well. It can be as simple as putting the yoga mat by the door, right? Like that physical cue can help you to align with the goals that you say you want for your life, right? So maybe it's health, or maybe it's money. We know that living organized can save a lot of money. When you're not buying duplicates because you can find your items, you're not overbuying, right? Like, so you're saving money when you're using the items you already have. You're not wasting money because things aren't expiring as much, right? Like when you can see everything in your pantry, it lessens the opportunity for things to go bad, right? So you're saving money by not wasting your items and even makeup, right? Like makeup expires, has a shelf life. And you just generally realize you can live with less. And so you aren't spending as much money. The last thing I'll share here, just as an idea of a potential why, and again, this has to be personal for you, it has to matter for you and be able to recenter you in this process, is that, of course, it takes time to get organized, but you save so much time being organized. I just had an experience with this past weekend. I was in a wedding. If you've ever been in a wedding, you know it's a lot when you get to the wedding weekend. And this was a series of a few days worth of events. And my house felt it, right? My house felt the coming in and out and the tiredness of just not having any energy to fold or anything throughout that time. But I was able, because of the systems that we have in place, quickly reset my home the next day. I was able to reclaim our space pretty quickly because everything had a place to go. So it does ultimately save you time. And just the time of, like I mentioned earlier, not wasting time losing things. There's some stats that say we spend about 6 months of our lifetime on average looking for lost items. That is a lot of time that I would love to reclaim and utilize for something that actually matters to me, right? Versus just the loss of looking for things. And you have more time to accomplish your goals. When you have a defined space and organized life, now you have time to think and dream and vision and do things that your heart feels pulled to do. So, those are just a few of the examples that you may resonate as you think about why you're doing this. I say that's so important because being organized, you will not always feel like folding the laundry. You will, even as a professional organizer, I do not, right? But I know my why. I know why I keep practicing living an organized life. I know what it means to my family, to my health and my wellness. And so I continue to do it, right? Even when it gets tough. And it's just empowering. It recenters me, right? All right, let's keep going. Second tip, tip number two, make sure you consider others in your home. So often we may get that like energy, right? We may get that push. I want to do this. I want to do this. I'm going to get myself together. If you live in a home with other people, be it a roommate, a spouse, a significant other, children, a parent who you may be caretaking for, whatever it may be, if you are sharing space, it is so important to discuss your vision, your energy for shifting your life with the other people in your home. It is so critical. You want that buy-in early on. So talking to the other people in your home, addressing any questions or concerns. There will likely be objections. Everyone may not be on the same page as you right away, right? You know, you may have gotten that enlightenment in that moment, but that may not have happened for the others in your home. I can remember when I first kind of woke up to it, and I've been organized, but I took it to that next level, right? I had to talk to my husband. It wasn't fair to him to just start moving things around without his understanding of what the vision was and what I felt like it could do for our lives. It took time. He didn't get it right away. He did not get it right away. But over time, he saw the value and he got why putting this back made sense, right? He felt the benefits of living organized. But you'll want to agree because you want to have that shared ownership and responsibility to maintain the system. And you want to make sure as you're discussing, you understand the root of any of the challenges that people in your home may be faced with. Again, this is all critical to how we set those boundaries for maintenance because if we've had those discussions, we have something to go back on, right? Around agreements of the other folks in our home. We also want to be practical. If you're living with children, which I do, I have small children, they can't do the same thing we can. So we want to be practical about how they can contribute to the maintenance of our organizing system. And then establish something that feels practical for everyone. Um, because again, you may see something online and that may work for that family, but it just may not be realistic for your family. So setting those realistic goals are going to help you to be most successful in the long run and to make sure that you're actually going to be able to maintain that organizing system. All right, this is another reminder that if you join my email listserv, which is on my website at thetailoredlife.com, at the bottom, you can join there. If you join that listserv, I will send you a free decluttering checklist. Also, if you follow me on Instagram at The Tailored Life, and DM me, let me know, hey, I saw you, I met you at Beautiful Home. If you Beautiful Home, Beautiful Life. If you let me know that I will enter you to win an $100 Amazon gift card. So just putting that reminder out there again. Okay, let's keep going. So we're going to tip number three. The next tip is really to reduce the amount of things coming into your home to begin with. So if you're at this point now, you've likely already decluttered and organized the space. So you know decluttering takes time, it takes energy, it can take emotional energy, right? Like we have attachments to things. This can be a deep process, right? Not the same as maybe decluttering your kitchen. It's easier to part with an expired box of cereal, right? But when you're going through keepsakes or maybe something from a loved one that you've lost, it can be an emotional um, process. So I say that to say, reduce the amount of things coming in your home to begin with, because you're reducing the amount of decluttering that you need to do anyway. um, I this year in January of 2023, I participated in No New Things Challenge. This was actually something that Shira Gill, who's another professional organizer, and Ashley Piper, who's one of her colleagues, did together. And it was such a beautiful challenge. It taught me so much about, and you can go to my page and see my own learnings under a highlight reel there. But it taught me so much about my spending habits, how I consume, when I'm triggered to purchase. Most of all, it gave me clarity on the difference between what I need and what I want. This is such a significant boundary to maintaining an organized life. Because when you're going through and decluttering your space, you're saying, I need, use, and love this item, right? You've given so much time and attention and thoughtfulness to what is in your home. Being able to track how you spend, what triggers you to buy, even when you're like, I don't need this, like what convinces you that like turns a want into a need, for you psychologically, what does that? It is such an empowering truth to understand. So I really invite you, you can do the No New Things challenge at any time. I invite you to look into it and be honest with yourself about what you're learning, because those are now boundaries that you can put up yourself to protect yourself, right? Like it's not even an external thing. It's something that you're learning about your own self to reduce the amount. Learning those triggers will set you up for success in maintaining your organized system. It also helps for you to revisit your why and your goals, because your goals likely have nothing to do with bringing in more stuff, right? It may be about something professionally or personally you want to accomplish. So bringing in more items is actually kind of antithetical to you accomplishing the goals that you've set out to accomplish. So again, if you reduce the amount of stuff you're bringing in, you're going to reduce the amount of time you need to declutter. And that's less, and you have more time to do the things you actually want to do. The fourth thing is to create a process for new things that are coming into your home. So, of course, stuff is going to have to come in, right? You're going to have to get new things. We have to live. There's a lot of things that are just basic needs, right? Even outside of the things that we just desire. But think about it before it's a problem. And only buy what you have the space to store. And once you've decluttered and organized your space, you have a lot of clarity on what your space can actually take, right? Like you get it. You're like, okay, I only have this one shelf. I only have this one bin for this, right? So again, often when I'm working with clients, people think they need more space. They actually just need less stuff. They need to reduce the mass of the items that they have in their space. And this is such a powerful boundary. Being proactive about gifts or things that people might give you. And I'm going to stay here for a second because I think there's a lot of guilt associated with items. I talked earlier about our attachment to things. I believe that gifts is probably one of those weak points for many of us. Um, we feel, oh, someone has gone out of their way to get something for me. I'm so grateful. How I show my gratitude is by hanging on to this item, right? It's such a flip on our brain to say, no, I'm grateful. I'm still grateful if I keep this item or not, right? And we have to release and give ourselves permission to say, you know what, that person thought about me. That means so much to me. And I actually still don't need this item or won't use this item or I already have something like this. I believe the best extension of our gratitude is to make sure that item actually gets used, right? It coming and sit in your basement does not show your appreciation to that person for spending their hard-earned money or their time or whatever it was to make sure you had something, right? So it's truly a shift in how we think about our gifts or things that may be given to us. Having a plan, though, can help you to feel more prepared in the moment. And giving yourself like some pre-criteria almost is such a powerful boundary. So for me, often I don't really need a lot. Like I just don't. I live very simply. And so I'm very critical of the things that come in my home. And if I can't use it, I already have a place in mind where I know I can donate it and it would get use. And that feels really good for me. So I actually have a running list of local charities, group homes that are looking for different items. And so I often will, when I get an item that maybe meets that need or fits what they're looking for, I'm already ready to give that. And that feels really good. I don't have to sit in any of the guilt around that. We often can have attachment to things that may connect to fear or obligation. And so again, just being proactive about how we will act when new things come into our home can feel really empowering and be such a powerful way to maintain our organized life. Um, the last thing I'll say under this kind of fourth tip is to decide a regular process for decluttering. I led with this earlier. You're not going to go to the gym once and then just be able to like maintain that physique, right? Like if that could happen, I think we would all be like, "Ah, that's amazing." It doesn't happen like that. It's an accumulation of daily or every other day or however many times you work out a week that maintains that. Decluttering is very similar. I am decluttering a space nearly every day in my home. That way, it actually does not accumulate. I don't really get to this overwhelm of like, oh, I gotta go through this and spend a whole day doing it. It's just, hey, I got a little bit of time. Let me sneak into my son's room and quick declutter, see if he has anything that needs to be donated. Or we often we have a clothing train, so I'm giving things to my nephew who's just a few years younger than my son. So I'm constantly doing that. But be practical to what works for you. It may not be daily. I enjoy decluttering. So I do it daily without any issue, without any fuss, right? But maybe it's every other day, maybe it's weekly, maybe it's monthly, maybe it's quarterly. I hope, whatever works for you, whatever feels practical for your lifestyle. Getting other people involved is so important because you actually can't declutter other people's stuff. Um, I can with my son because I know what he's grown out of. But often when I'm thinking about, and that's clothing, but often when I'm thinking about his toys, I have to include him in on that process, right? I want him to have ownership and buy in and feel supported in those decisions. I also want him to learn how to do this at a young age, right? So there's a lot of things to factor in. But for example, I am decluttering and restocking my pantry every week. I do that every Sunday when I grocery shop. It's just a great time to just, see what's coming in, what's going out. And that feels good for me, right? Weekly, I'm able to kind of tidy up my organizing system. And things don't really go bad. They don't because I'm having constant eyes on the food and then the food that is maybe towards the end of its expiration period or a goodbye date. I'm being thoughtful about, well, probably need to add that to a recipe for next week, right? So those sorts of things can really help you. Um, the last tip that I'm going to give for today, and thank you all so much for hanging with me. I hope that you have found value in what I've shared for these tips. The last thing is do not put things up, put them away. I know that, or put things down, put them away. There's a very big difference between putting things down and putting them away. And what that really gets to is that everything needs to have a home. So living organized is about everything having a place to go in your home, right? Because you want to be able to find that thing when you're looking for it. That's simply put the value in living organized. So often that may be having bins, having labels, because those things help to define what that home is, right? You want to make sure though that the system, of course, is practical, but it can be aesthetically pleasing as well. You do not have to compromise either of those for the other. But what putting something in a bin and putting a label on it does is to help you with the maintenance. Quite frankly, it's going to contain the item so that it's easier to keep it together, especially if you're talking about micro organizing. Let's take writing utensils, for instance, much easier to keep them in a bin or something like that versus having them just on a counter, right? And then if you go a step further and actually label that, it reminds you, it's instructions for what you said that space needed to be for your family or for you. So I want to leave you with that is to make sure that you have a way of organizing that system. because that's going to help you to thrive and maintain. This is my last reminder about the opt-in for my session. So if you go to my website, again, thetailoredlife.com, scroll to the bottom, you'll be able to join my email listserv there. If you do, I'll send you a free decluttering checklist. Again, hopefully this is a lifestyle for you, so something you can print out or just reference to help you to think through making those decisions about your things, right? And then if you follow me on Instagram and DM me and say, hey, Ashley, I hung out with you on your session on the Beautiful Home, Beautiful Life. If you do that, I will enter you into win a $100 gift card to Amazon. Who does not want a free Amazon gift card? We all have things that we need in our home. Hopefully you're able to utilize that for something that you need in your home or maybe even want, but again, something that you've been thoughtful about, not an impulsive want, something that you truly want that you think will add to your life. I want to say as I close the session, give yourself grace. Um, Living organized is a muscle. It takes time. You have to actually work it out, right? And so give yourself grace as you are developing these new habits. Be realistic about what is going to work for you and keep at it. It can be really challenging because we see so much, right? Like there's so much inspiration out there. So many people living organized, and you may say, oh, I want that. But that may not actually be what's going to help your family thrive. So be honest about what's going to help you and your family to thrive. Um, I'm just encouraging you. You got this. You can do this. I'm so grateful to be in this place to be able to encourage you to live organized, to be able to promote the benefits of living organized, especially as it pertains to our mental health and our wellness and our well-being. I believe this is truly transformation. It can transform our lives to live organized. And I'm honored to help you and others to thrive in their spaces. If you want more practical tips, if you want more inspiration, follow me on The Tailored Life. I'm most active on Instagram. Come and hang out with me. I'm there waiting for you to join the Tailored Life community. Thank you so much for being here today. Please reach out. Let me know if you try any of these tips, how it's going for you, and stay well. All right, until next time.